Hey, what's good? Coach Colin Castello with ShotMechanics Basketball, and I've got on the Nike PG2s for my guys over at East Bay, and today we're going to give you a few of Paul George's defensive secrets. I know Paul George is an elite level defender. He's got a few secrets that allow him to do so effectively. So today what I wanted to do is walk you through a few of those. That way you can impress your coach and get more playing time because you're going to be a monster on the defensive end of the floor. But don't forget, stay tuned to the end of this video where I've got a free PG Buckets workout that's really going to help you score the ball just like Paul George. All right, so the very first thing that you notice with Paul George on defense is he's got really active hands. He tips a lot of balls, he steals a lot of balls, and he makes a lot of passes bad that way a shooter doesn't get an open shot. So by active hands, what I mean is when Paul's on defense, most of the time he's not just standing with his hands like this, right? We've all been to a camp or a clinic where we stand in a line and we're like, slide, slide. We do this thing all the time and we look like zombies walking around. But the thing is, if you watch Paul George, his hands are always moving. They're always tracing the ball, they're always finding passing lanes, they're moving around. So on defense, if you find that your hands are still, right, either if they're here or here or here, wherever they are, if they aren't constantly moving with the ball or where the ball passer or ball handler is looking, you're not gonna be as effective on defense. So you always wanna think about active hands, where they're moving. One key that I always like to do is trace the ball whatever side of the body it's on. So if the offensive player has the ball on this side of the body, I'm gonna trace it with my left. So if it's up, my hand's up. If it's down, my hand's down. If they switch the ball to the other side, I'm tracing with my opposite hand, right? That allows them to not be able to get off a shot. It allows them to not make an easy pass if you've always got a trace hand. All right, so the next thing that Paul George is really good at is having active feet, meaning that his feet aren't kind of grounded in cement. They're constantly tapping, constantly moving. So if you watch him, as he's kind of moving his feet around, he's staying on the balls of his toes and his heels are off the ground, right? If on defense you notice that your heels are starting to touch the ground a lot, that probably means that your feet aren't very active. So think about, it's almost like the ground's hot lava. We talk about this in shooting a lot, but it's almost the same sort of thing where I don't want my feet touching the ground for very long at one point in time. And so that way, if you can keep your feet active, you can always react and move to the offensive player's movement, right? So really think about keeping those feet active and keeping them moving at all times, even if they're just short, little, tiny movements. All right, so the next key is that Paul George is a master at challenging a shot without fouling. Now he does this on the perimeter and out at the rim, and basically it just means that he gets a hand up and challenges a shot without fouling the shooter or the finisher, right? This is something that a lot of players don't understand. They might get a good challenge, but if you foul, it doesn't even matter. So there's a few things that Paul George does really, really well on this challenge. Number one, it starts with the active hands like we talked about, where he traces the ball. So a lot of times when a jump shooter goes into their shot, his hand's already in that line and he doesn't have to overextend and foul them on their shot. He's already right there with the perfect challenge, right? Same thing at finishing at the hoop. He's really good at jumping straight up and down, going vertical, making sure that he's not jumping into the offensive player as they're going in for their score. So again, challenging without fouling, one of the most important parts of playing defense, and really underrated, right? If you can get a player to brick a shot, it's just as good as a turnover most of the time, right? Another little trick that you see Paul George do from time to time is cover the face. And basically that means as he's playing defense and somebody's getting ready to shoot, if he can't get a good challenge on the shot, he'll actually put his hand right over the offensive player's face and at least try to take away some of their vision, right? Because basketball shooting is a hand-eye coordination sport, so if you can take away a little bit of vision, that helps too. So, no matter who you're playing against, whether they're perimeter-oriented or slashing or, kind of a combo, make sure that you're able to challenge without fouling, and even if you can get them to miss, it's just as good as a turnover. All right, so the next key that's super important is knowing your man. And this is something that Paul George is phenomenal at, and it's basically just basketball IQ, right? On defense, generally you can never fully stop the offensive player. There's definitely advantages for the offensive player, right? They know where they're going, and a lot of times the calls will go their way as well. So on defense, you've got to know what players like to do what. And the reason why Paul George is so good at this is he knows which players like to shoot pull-up jumpers, which players like to get to the rims, which players like to, have an in and out with their right hand, which players like in and out with their left hand, all those kind of tendencies. So this is really hard to do if you're just playing random pickup games and you haven't seen people play before. But a lot of the times you're playing a lot of the same people in AAU or in your league or, even your teammates at open gyms. And so you can start to develop tendencies, and really, really good high IQ defensive players like Paul George start to realize what players like to do what. So a lot of times you'll see Paul George, he'll almost like guess moves that guys are gonna do before they actually do them, and then that way he can get a good contest or a steal or a strip or something like that. So really keep in mind, you're not going to defend every single player the same. And that's a mistake that a lot of players make, is they think that, you just play defense one way. But really, let's say if you're in the NBA, you're going to guard Kevin Durant significantly different than you're going to guard Steph Curry. You're going to guard LeBron James significantly different than you're going to guard Russell Westbrook, right? And that's something that Paul George really understands. It's something that as a defensive player, if you can really kind of start to gather in on that, it's going to help you be so much better because you're always forcing the offense to take the worst shot for them. right? So think about that. Basketball IQ-wise, know who you're guarding, and that's gonna change the way you guard them. All right, and don't forget, click the top link description down below to get a free copy of our PG Buckets workout brought to you by my guys over at Eastbay. And if you're looking for a pair of basketball shoes, hit the second link description down below and pick up a pair of the PG2s from my guys over at Eastbay. Exclusive colorways, free shipping, you just can't beat it. And I actually love these shoes on foot, so go check them out. Again, I'm Coach Colin Castell with ShotMechanics Basketball. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Splash on.